experiment is not the sort of thing that has been done before. So we have space watches in the industry, but they weren't designed for space.
We've kind of planted 13 watches on the gondola for that balloon, and we're trying to test them in stratospheric space, if you want so.
It sounds crazy, but in the end it really actually shows what the watches are in the end capable of. So, and I think this is something what you have to do when you really want to say it's a space watch.
So, hi.
Hi.
Nice to have you here on the talk. It's
Thank
really
you.
interesting to have some people from different areas and fields, and obviously a pilot.
A professional pilot.
Is a professional pilot.
Professional pilot. It's my day job.
Rob, can you maybe tell us what you are?
What I am?
Yeah, tell me.
Well, I'm an embarrassment to start with, obviously, to the world of pilots, because I am not actually a professional pilot. I am wearing this flight suit because last time we saw each other in Branson, you were kind enough to send me off with Mark Rollier, one of your local hometown heroes, in the Turbine Legend plane, all the way off to the Alps, and we did some rolls and flips and all that stuff. And he let me fly the plane for a couple of minutes.
So you took the stick?
So I took the stick, and I didn't do anything dramatic.
Like rolls?
I did no rolls. No, I moved the plane, and I just pointed it in the direction of the Alps, which in fairness is not a small target. So I figured I wouldn't be able to miss. Luckily kept it in the air. And then when I landed, having risked life and limb for your amusement.
I agree.
Because he didn't let me know about this until moments before I had to get in the plane. And he really enjoyed the shock on my face.
Yeah, you look a bit pale.
I got a bit pale, yeah, and I was living on Red Bull and fumes and nothing else. But I survived because I'm a hero. And then I decided, well, having been given the patch, I needed a flight suit to go with it. So I bought the flight suit and I stuck these Fortis tags on.
Very good.
And I got a Swiss flag,
Very good.
And this one's good. This one just says planespotter.ch.
So
I'm not officially
you're spotting planes, actually, in
like
that
a bird
suit.
watcher.
That's very good. So no plane at all, I guess.
I don't own a plane. No. But I do anything. I can fly helicopters. I guess. I mean, I didn't know I could fly a plane until I actually did. So
okay.
There you go. So
that's very cool. So nice to have you here, Mr. Pilot.
Well, you're welcome. I'm a busy guy, so I have to.
Yeah. You add a lot
time.
of quality to the format. I guess.
Yeah.
So hi, Stefan.
Andreas.
Please help me. Who are you?
What are you?
Who are you?
What I am up to.
Are you also a pilot?
Not directly. I have other people for that. So I let other people launch rockets. So
That's very cool. So tell me, where are we right now?
we're here on S-Range, quite far in the north, above the polar circle, 150 kilometers north of the polar circle. S-Range is the SSC, so Swedish Space Corporation's place where we launch rockets and stratospheric balloons, and soon also satellites from next year on.
Nice. So we're launching a balloon tomorrow.
We hope so.
We hope so, when
Yeah.
the weather is good. So we've kind of planted 13 watches on the gondola for that balloon.
We have.
And we're trying to test them in open stratospheric space, if you want so. So how far does it go up again?
Yeah, we plan for around 30 kilometers.
That's pretty far away. So like triple the altitude of flying in a regular plane. So
Special conditions, yes.
Yeah.
what is the conditions up there?
So first, quite cold. We also have very low density.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not very convenient, I think, for people without any spacesuit. Yeah.
Okay. So is it probably a stupid idea to send up watches there?
Well, it depends.
It was like a challenge, right? And if they survive, if they are still ticking when they get back to Earth, and they will get back to Earth with quite a bang, right? Because once the balloon reaches its height, we're going to cut the payload, and it's going to come back to Earth. But not to Sweden, where we are. It's going to land in
No,
Finland.
the wind's going to take it to Finland.
Which is inconvenient, but you have a pilot here, so don't worry, I can help you out with that.
That's very good.
And if it
Fortunately,
survives...
we have some real pilots who go there and pick it up.
Could you maybe wait until we stop filming before you like chew me out like that?
No, you just started with
Trying
that.
to send a message here. So yeah, fingers crossed they keep on running.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're doing it for the testing and all of that to get some new proper space movements out there soon. Yeah. So, what are you doing here? I mean, you're performing like an actor right now, but what's your job description?
Job description?
Yeah.
Well, I work with all of Fratello's partners, all of our friends in the industry on media plans, coverage, and also the creation of limited edition watches, generally speaking. And I am here because you invited me to cover this event along with my colleague Dave Sargent, who's sitting over there off camera where he belongs, and we're going to follow the experiment. We're going to look at it from our perspective, which is the perspective of watch nerds.
Okay.
We love the science behind this. We love how ambitious the test is, and how crazy a thing it is to try and prepare a watch for these kind of conditions, which is unlikely to meet back on planet Earth. So, yeah, it's fascinating. And we're also going to be around next year, hopefully, when the test continues into its second phase. And who knows what we'll learn? I mean,
you learned to be a watchmaker.
I
first
did.
place,
Yeah,
so
yes.
you actually know what's in there and how things work. I mean, to you, if you see that we're gonna bring them up there, it's not a really good idea, isn't it?
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, I would expect nothing less of you at this point, to be honest. I think it's a fantastic thing to try. And like I say, I'm really interested in what happens when they get back down.
Yeah, me too.
Because we're going to have a camera on them. We're going to have a camera mounted on the gondola, right, when they're going up there. So we'll know if they stop running at any point, and if they do, when. And then we can hopefully triangulate what it was that caused them to.
That's exactly what we're here for, yeah.
Yeah.
In addition, we're also measuring temperature and pressure, so we actually know exactly the conditions when something happens. So,
right.
So actually, this is like the first step of creating the true space watch, right? So, like, if you want to take something up there, yeah,
of course. I mean, this is really a technical experiment, and that's what I think is so. It sounds crazy, but in the end, it really actually shows what the watches are in the end capable of. So, and I think this is something what you have to do when you really want to say it's a space watch.
Yeah, you're also related to. You're also related to watchmaking, right?
Somehow, yeah.
What is the story behind that?
Yeah, I mean, my father is a watchmaker. He has been working for a big other Swiss company for many, many years.
The same crown, not the same crown, but a crown, isn't it?
It's also a beautiful crown, yes.
So there's only. Did you know there's only like 2 crowns in the world? One is us.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. There's one with the the frog crown, and then you have the real crown, which looks like a gear. Like.
I see, of course, yeah.
You see that?
It is a lovely.
That
is a
one.
lovely
That
crown.
one, actually.
This one right here, yeah, which we have.
You sued that yourself here.
I did, yeah, and I didn't do a great job, to be honest. I got it a little bit on an angle, but it's fine. It's doing its job. It's holding fast.
It's very interesting because what he just told me is that he learned something else before becoming a watchmaker.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I was more into clothing design and making clothes before I was a watchmaker, and the decision I had was to either go down the route of tailoring or go down the route of watchmaking, and I chose watchmaking because it looked harder. That's the reason. Like,
looked harder.
Genuinely, what I said to myself at the time, I was like, "Oh, that sounds pretty impressive," and then I did it, and it's like anything. It seems crazy from the outside looking into it. Like when I think about the work you do with these rockets up here, I'm like, how do you even get started with something like that? But you learn little things, and you slowly get better, and before you know it, you're much better than you were when you began. And watchmaking has always been, since that time at least, my focus and what I want to do with all of my time.
Do you still do that from time to time?
From time to time when it's necessary, but I mean, let's face it, I'm not the best watchmaker in the world.
But the best pilot.
I'm the best pilot in the world, yeah, obviously. I mean, I'm not like Kari Voutilainen or like one of Roger Smith. I'm not a master watchmaker. Like I can service any regular movement just fine. Chronographs, no problem. Getting up there in the complications, I would struggle, and like being out of it now for quite a while. I wouldn't try anything too ambitious, but I frequently take the back off our watches in the office in Fratello and adjust the timing. If someone's watch is gaining or losing, I can still do that. So I just put it on the witchy and and figure that out. And I'm good at diagnosing problems. Doesn't mean I can always fix
but
them.
that's cool. I mean, being an editorial on the one hand, and on the other, really understanding what's in there.
Yeah, it's been a strange road to travel, but I think that it suits me a little better to be talking about the watches rather than fixing them all the time.
Okay.
Because it can get a little bit monotonous, you know, when you're working on a sort of a relatively narrow field of movements. Because I always work for brands. If you work for like an independent watch service, so you could find yourself working on all kinds of stuff, you know, old stuff from many years ago, doing a little bit of this here, a little bit of that there.
Yeah, also machine stuff.
Yeah.
Parts and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, in service watchmaking, which is where I spent most of my working career as a watchmaker, it's pretty limited in what you get to do. You rarely need to make anything. I learned how to make parts like balance staffs and
but you get it sent basically from the factory.
Exactly, you just go up to a big drawer and pull it out. So, yeah, I'd like to get back to it though. I would. I haven't left it behind entirely.
Okay.
It's something I would love to do again in some capacity, and I think I will do sooner rather than later for my own amusement.
Oh, very cool. So, Stefan, you designing experiments. What's been the craziest experiment you have ever designed?
Hard to say.
Watches on a gondola. Besides that,
of course. I mean, the most crazy experiment is actually carrying 13 watches, I think. So, no, but it is actually quite funny when you talk about being a watchmaker. I have been also quite close to the point also becoming a watchmaker. In the end, I actually started becoming a precision mechanic in the end, and especially with the relations to space, and that's why I'm still here. So I'm now on the other side. I didn't become the watchmaker, but I became the engineer. So with the space background, so it's quite funny to see like how also the careers actually change from tailoring to watchmaking, and for me from almost watchmaking to launching rockets. So,
but to do something with your hands, I think that's something you're both kind of passionate about, right?
That's the most important, I think, and this is also so fantastic in this job, what we do here. Yeah, so you're not just serving, let's say, science, and you get like input from outside what you have to then build. It's also like being creative yourself, and then in the end being here, being like around with the scientists or the customers, and then in the end also building the stuff together, launching it, and that's really fun. So hands-on work. It's a lot of work before. It's a lot of, let's say, the boring stuff, but then in the end being here is always fantastic.
It's fantastic to see that actually, I mean, you're creating something that's not been done before ever, for a problem or a question that's not been asked before, or that's not been answered before. And to take it to, let's say, microgravity, or to take a certain problem into microgravity, or a question into microgravity, to answer that question. I mean, that's what, you know, me as a boy was dreaming of, you know, kind of the space thing and all of that. You know, everybody's seen like the moon landing stuff on TV, and I was told by my parents, and, you know, you're still getting goosebumps when you see rockets launched from NASA and whatsoever. So that's, from my perspective, space is such a, there's so many things coming together, you know, kind of, at the end of the day, it's all about the emotion behind it, you know. So what's your space idea? Or would you like to go to space?
I'd love to go to space. When I was a young boy, I wanted to be an astronaut. It was the first job that I decided I wanted to be. And I told someone at school, a teacher, I think, and I was always small. You know, we're not the tallest of people in the world, and I was really tiny as a boy. Obviously, boys are smaller than men normally. And the teacher I told said that I was too short to be an astronaut and I should focus on something else. I mean, this was like the early 90s, and obviously, like, people didn't care about emotions in the same way.
It's strange,
but I thought that's a really horrible thing to say to me.
Yeah, that's kind of a dream killer.
So, as far as my space career went as a kid, I remember when I was in Cub Scouts.
What is that?
Oh, well, you know, like, I don't know what the European equivalent is, but you must have Scouts, right? You know, like, when a little group of young people
okay, got it,
okay, and you do badges.
Yeah, you know, we have that as well.
Yeah. I earned the astronomer badge 3 times, and because we had very limited resources, and my projects were quite unambitious. Cool. Generally, I would get a washing up liquid bottle and cut a slit out of the side of it, and then I would make the constellations on black cards with little shiny stars, and then I would put the card into the washing up bottle and do that like a telescope.
Okay, cool.
And I made these things. I made like solar systems out of papier-mâché, and I can't remember what all the other projects were, but I had all the like Osborne books of space and rocket cutaways and whatnot, and the like overlays and the Dorling Kindersley books. I was obsessed with it for most of my childhood. But it was a long time between that and now since I really like revisited my love of space. And working for Fratello has given me that opportunity, because we are the space authority when it comes to watch media.
Yeah,
and that's our thing.
I mean, that's basically also why I called you.
I know that's why you called me. I thought it was my charisma and my piloting skills, but no.
I first wanted a pilot, but then I decided to get a real pilot.
Okay, real pilot. It's still offensive.
Still offensive.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, exactly. So this is not just in my interest, it is the interest of our community, and that's the most exciting thing, because this project and this experiment is not the sort of thing that has been done before. So we have space watchers in the industry, but they weren't designed for space. They were like appropriated for space, like that. They worked for the conditions that the space institutions needed them to work, but they weren't, from a blank piece of paper to a fully realized product, designed with that in mind. And to do that, to create a genuine space watch, is fascinating.
And I think that's also our approach at the end of the day, to kind of, yes, I mean, the next giant leap will be Mars, the sooner the later, and there's so many different aspects that you need to go through before you get there. That's why we're on so many space projects also involved, and we're trying to improve the product. I hate that word, by the way. We're trying to improve that product alongside, so that whenever the question comes to the table, which watch shall we take? Yeah, man.
I mean, don't call it a product, call it a tool, right? Because I mean, it really is.
It is a tool.
Like, and this is something that has come around at just the right time, because there's been a bit of a dearth of interest in space travel for many years, right? It's not been something that I think the young generation, like the children of today, have really grown up with in the same way that we did, and the generation before us even more.
True.
I think it's fascinating with the whole commercial space.
There's a new
travel.
space race.
There's a new space race.
That's I think the good news to kind of develop the things and to go further, to look beyond the horizon. I mean, for you guys, that's also quite a interesting time, because I can imagine that there's lots of experiments, that will in the future go into that direction. I've just heard you saying today that you can actually simulate the gravity on Mars, for example, to kind of fix stuff like in microgravity that needs to be kind of approved on Mars.
Yeah, I mean, before you go to Mars, you need to know that everything what you're basically developing is working there. And especially when you think about processes, you need to get water on Mars. You need to have like a waste management system, which is basically comes out of you water again, or create oxygen, and so on and so on. And you can develop things on Earth, but still, when you get there, you need to be sure that it works. And you have different conditions. Mars has just a fraction of the gravity which we have on Earth. So this means you need to test that in the same condition before you go there. And since you cannot do it here on ground, you have to go, for example, on a sounding rocket, or you have to go to ISS, so where you can do that. And that's like one of the big missions which I have at the moment, to start with that, so to provide the missions specifically for this. So also to really give the opportunity to specifically have Moon or Mars gravity missions for research in this field. So
yeah, I mean, you're doing lots of stuff for ESA and probably NASA and DLR and
biggest customers are of course like the European Space Agency. So we're building experiments for them and implementing them on our sounding rocket flights.
So there's like 100 people then here, and
I mean, you see the facilities on the big missions, and we have between 60 and 100 people here on site. Usually one of the rockets contains around 6-7 experiments, different ones, smaller, bigger ones. So
they're set up in blocks then in the rocket, or is that?
Yeah, basically rocket sections which are then filled with the experiment payload. So they're basically built into.
How can I imagine that? There's like, you have a box then, and like the experiment needs to kind of get into the microgravity, so it's floating around there, or how does it work?
No. So first, how does microgravity at all? How do we create it? I mean, maybe you have, as a kid, you might have made the small experiment that you take a water bottle, you keep it. You don't make it completely full, so you keep like a little bubble in it, and you throw the bottle up, and you see that actually the bubble inside the bottle goes into the middle. So the bubble is inside the bottle, weightless. So, and we actually do exactly the same. So the time of when the bottle leaves the hand, until then, it is propelled. And when the hand opens and the bottle leaves the hand, you don't propel it anymore. So it basically follows the ballistic trajectory.
Okay.
And during that time, we have weightlessness in the rocket. To have really high quality weightlessness, we actually have to go out of the atmosphere. So we take the rockets, accelerate them for the first 2 minutes, and at that time we get like a couple of times the speed of sound. When the motors are burned out, then it becomes silent, and we basically follow the ballistic trajectory, and inside our rocket we have, in this frame of reference, the weightlessness. As we call it then microgravity, because we have a very high or very, very low disturbances, let's say. And we don't feel in this frame of reference the Earth gravity anymore. Of course it is there, but we make a trick. So, and then we have on these particular flights around 6 minutes, and we can do all different kind of experiments. This can be experiments with liquids, this can be biological experiments where we look for the behavior of cells. So we can, what is also quite interesting is actually the regime, not just the microgravity experiments, but also being out there in space. You're really there in space, you're above the 100-kilometer Kärman line. So you have the area where you, where the northern lights appear. So scientists have instruments which they just shoot out of the rocket, or just like with booms and arms, and measure right there inside the aurora borealis, so the northern lights, like what is happening there, plasma physics.
What is happening there?
Yeah, I'm not a scientist, I'm an engineer.
Well, that's a good answer. So, I mean, SSC, the whole S-range place is here because of the aurora lights, isn't it?
Yeah, in the 60s, when there was a lot of research on northern lights, this space was perfectly. So my S-range was set up here by the predecessor of the European Space Agency, and they started launching rockets specifically for research on northern lights. In today's time, so that the focus shifted a little bit over the time, so now most of the missions are actually in particular for microgravity missions. But nevertheless, there is still a lot of not known yet, and every time when you go up there, you start focusing on something else, because every time you get up there, you come back with new questions. So you get answers, but you get new questions. And this is why we continue with, or the scientists continue with the research, and we support the scientists by basically providing them the platform to get there where they need to do the science.
Cool. Can you see his eyes? Can you see that? Yeah. Can you see that?
That's the fun stuff.
He's like really into it.
He really is. Have you been to space yet?
No, not yet.
But you want to go?
No, definitely. I'm searching for the right pilot.
Don't do that.
Well, I happen to know a guy,
I've been in microgravities or in low gravity with these parabolic flights. So that was fun as well. Although
You've done that?
Yeah.
How did you... It's the vomit comet, right? That's what we call it.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was a great experience.
For everyone else on board as well?
Probably. So I was at a time a student, and I was a medical subject.
Okay.
So I didn't get like the medication against the motion sickness. So I actually I turned my body inside out, let's say.
Right, okay.
But in the end, the experience, just feeling the weightlessness in your body, is just absolutely amazing, because this is something which you cannot feel on Earth. Yeah, you can do what you want. You don't get the same feeling. I mean, divers say it might be quite a similar experience. I've been diving a bit, but it is still a different feeling, because you lose really the feeling of gravity, and that's.
I think it's just not understandable if not experienced.
No,
it's
I
like
can't imagine it.
and getting off.
Well, you feel like it's just going to be floating, right?
Yeah.
Just floating about, but like you don't really appreciate that your body is under constant like force all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm in constant pain.
That's why we're so short.
Yeah, it's because it's dragging us down.
Dragging us down.
Very susceptible to gravity. So I would love to be free from it for a moment, just to see what it's like. And
on Mars, you would be 2.20 meters.
Right, we need to get that mission.
Are you from Mars?
Exactly.
But Mars nowadays is a one-way ticket.
Yeah, so I hear.
Is
That'd be good news for you, wouldn't it? You get me out of your hair at last.
No, but would you take a one-way ticket? No.
No, I wouldn't take a one-way ticket. I don't think. I would consider it. I definitely would. I would give it reasonable thought. But if I was going on my own, I mean, I'm great company, you know. But for eternity, come on. But I mean, maybe like if someone said, and I suppose it might make sense to go as a family unit. If I went with a wife and children, but I don't have children, but maybe you could see some way to that. But I don't think it's for me.
Yeah, me neither.
I would miss the pub too much.
There's already that sitting on a rocket, filled up with, what's in there? Liquid air, liquid oxygen, and they burn it basically under you. It's like not a good feeling at all, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's a crazy mission to even countenance, isn't it? Like, what kind of person does it take to do something like that? There will be people, of course, somewhere in the world who will put their hand up for it and say, "Yep, I'm going to be that pioneer."
There is actually Elon asked that question, Elon Musk, and he got like 4 million applications.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of unhappy people. So why not?
He's got to be restrictive on the ticket. Huh?
Yeah.
But speaking about tickets, space tourism is growing. I mean, we have Jeff Bezos, we have Elon Musk, we do have Richard Branson. Which one is the one with the, let's say, the one you would go with?
Of those three?
Yeah.
I suppose personally, I find Branson the nicest guy. I think he's the one I would like to reward his geniality with my business.
I can imagine that.
So I suppose I'd say Branson. I think Musk is a fascinating character. He's proven himself to be a bit loose-lipped on occasion, shall we say. Bezos seems like a complete maniac and like overlord of some evil empire, which normally I think is cool, but I'm not so sure about his character, to be honest.
Okay.
But, I mean, which one is it that goes? Branson's doesn't go as high as Bezos's, right? Branson's.
I guess they cross all the common line at the end of the day.
I don't think they do, though.
They don't do
that. One of
that.
them doesn't. I think Branson's is still like below it, and I think Bezos's does go through the Kärmän line.
But it's like back.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it springs up, right, and it just sort of like goes like, we're in space. No, we're back to Earth.
You didn't even spell it.
I don't know. I mean, I think Branson's craft looks cooler.
By far.
I like that one. Bezos's looks.
Yeah, no, we're not going to talk about that one.
That's unfortunate. With all that money, you would have thought someone would have pointed that out.
A pretty good designer.
I'll go Branson. What about you?
Me too. Absolutely pro Branson. I like the punk rock style he's got in doing business. And at the end of the day, he's kind of still a human, I would say.
Seems
not
like it. Yeah.
Not like one of the two others that's kind of feel like gods, I would say. So, what's it with you?
I'm the engineer again, so I go for
the first one is ready.
I mean, if I would go to space, I don't want to just do it for 2 minutes. You know, I would like to stay there for a while.
Okay. So like what's the Inspiration 4 mission? Like
Yeah.
you go like 3 days around.
Exactly.
Norway?
I mean, that's something when you really start like realizing where you are.
Okay.
And I think what must be absolutely fascinating is orbiting around the Earth, because then you actually see this beautiful, fragile planet underneath you. And I think this would be a goal for me. I think everything else is.
Don't set your sights too high. You know, it's like, you know, what an ambition to have. It's like, yeah, so orbiting the Earth.
You're like 3 days orbiting.
But
that's
you know,
fine.
you also have to consider. I mean, even when you go out to the ISS, I mean, the real deal is, for example, going to Moon. I mean, this is in comparison to Mars, still like quite close, but this is where it becomes interesting. So, one of my old professors actually said, he explained it in a way, like for the last 50 years since we left the Moon. So if you consider a tennis ball as our Earth, as a planet, then our space activities, which we actually do, human space activities, are still in the field. We are so close to the surface.
Yeah.
We're still moving inside the field. So, and this is something which is in relation, it's very true. So, but I think it becomes really interesting to get even further.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's NASA just had landed the Perseverance rover there, and he's sending images and stuff, and I'm following this on Instagram because he's got his own Instagram account, by the way. So, and that's like
That's cute.
quite interesting because it's like, yeah, but it's a different planet. You watch the image and say, it's not the desert, it's another planet. You know, it's like that strange, you know, if you take that into consideration. So, to me, I believe it's not going to take that long to send humans there to get really out to space, if you want so. But it's a weird feeling to maybe, you know, see that or get that to know during my lifetime. So.
Yeah, because it seems to open the door to so many more possibilities and like so many things we've seen in our lives that were just sci-fi once upon a time are now obviously humdrum reality, like mobile phones, for goodness sake. There's more like power in that mobile phone that we carry around in our pocket than Armstrong and Aldrin and Collins had in 1969. So it's absolutely unbelievable leaps forward in technology, to the point where it no longer is, it doesn't fit the context of our like upbringings anymore. So we start to really question bigger picture things for which there is no answer. And that's scary and exciting, and it's exactly the reason why space compels people, I think, because we don't know anything.
Yeah.
and watches still just have a spring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good word for the final thing here. It's like the watches. I mean, we all carry that passion, I believe, and so I believe that's what brings us together. That's the fun and good thing about watches. It's like brings people from all over kind of together, because it's an emotional product. It's you know, it's kind of, there's like eternity in here.
That's where it crosses over with the whole fascination with space, right? Because it makes you feel something. Like a mechanical watch has been functionally obsolete for many years now, and we still make them, and we pour our heart and souls into their design. And at the end of the day, you have like something that seems completely removed from time, even though it's designed to track it, and something very special that you can connect with in an inexplicable human way.
Absolutely.
And this thought about space and like what could be beyond our own galaxy, and like what is in the future of humankind, is just, well, you know, there aren't enough beers on planet Earth for us to talk it out properly.
Absolutely.
But we'll try.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I hope that we're gonna have the same nice conversation maybe next year with another project coming up.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's some fancy things going on as well. And yeah, thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Andreas.